I'm Justin. Welcome to Cashman's Garage. If you guys have been following, you've seen a lot about this 87 Chevy Corvette, and it's back today. We're going to be doing the parking brake. Should be a whole lot of fun. Let's get started. So, before we get started, we're going to need some tools, some parking brakes, and some hardware. And the first step, after removing the wheel, is going to be taking off the caliper bracket with the caliper. Looks like we can get this all off as one assembly with our 18mm bolts, one on the top, one on the bottom here, and then our rotor should pull off and expose everything we need to see. So we removed our caliper, put it right up here so it's not going to be putting tension on our rubber brake line here. And something to keep in mind, there is a bracket back here for our parking brake cable, and that is held in by our second bolt. So again, you take those two out, everything should slip off nice and easy. Now we get to our parking brake. So we have our shoes here, and they're not in the most terrible shape, but they got burnt up a little bit because this parking brake cable was sticking in the past. So we're going to swap everything out, swap out our hardware, swap out our springs. We have everything new here, ready to go. Now if you were replacing an axle or something on this car, it'd probably be a lot easier because, as you can see, we don't have a whole lot of access. So we're going to do the best we can to take this all apart without taking our axle out. And I think the first step is going to be to twist these about 90 degrees. It's called a hold down nail, and that should release our shoes from our drum here. So I'm going to give that a shot and see if we can shake this all out. Now, if this is your first time doing anything with a drum, I do recommend taking a whole lot of pictures because sometimes putting it back together, there's several different holes you can put a spring in, and yeah, you just want to make sure everything goes back together the same way it came out. Otherwise, you could be finding yourself having some issues later. So I'm going to take those two hold down nails out, and then I'm going to see if I can just shake the rest of this apart. Now these springs, they're kind of curled around here. We have a star wheel adjuster. We could actually adjust that so that our shoes kind of come closer together. And that should hopefully loosen us up here. Let's move forward. So as you can see, we got our hold down nails off. I tighten this up by spinning this wheel upwards if you're facing it, and that gave us some room, but I'm thinking our next step is to take these two guys out here. I'm going to use an impact hammer for that because they look a little bit rusty. Now I'm hoping with all that apart I can squeeze this out and around. So let's cross fingers. Well, so far so good. So, after removing your hold down nails, I decided that the easiest way to go about this was, you see our star wheel adjuster here was hanging right in between these two guys. So, I used a screwdriver to pry this out just a little bit, allowing the star wheel adjuster to come out. Once the adjuster was out, you push these in together a little bit, and that loosens up your spring. Once the top is out and you got your two screws on the bottom out, this whole thing will yank out, and it's going to leave you with your parking brake block guy here, which is attached in the back to your parking brake cable. So that kind of loosened up as I was playing around with it. No big deal. So now we're ready to start putting this back together. Now I went ahead a little bit and started to do this, and I found the easiest way is to start off with your hold down nail. Now this is rather difficult with our axle still in the way here, but not impossible. I found that a couple needle nose pliers will get you there. I found the easiest way is to basically get behind the shoe here, right where you can see the nail, and hold the nail with your needle nose pliers, and use another set of needle nose to adjust the tip while using a screwdriver to put compression on this bit here. Once you got the thing on just a little bit, I found I needed to twist the hold down nail to get it nice and tight. So now with the one side in, I'm thinking that my next step is going to be to take this shoe, get our hold down nail on with that, and get our spring on. I'm thinking I'm going to get the spring on first and then stretch this around. So hopefully that does the trick. So it ended up working perfectly. Something to keep in mind, you have your parking brake bar there. Make sure that lines up with these squared off divots. It's going to line up on both sides. It's a little rough to see here, but you'll know when you have it. Another thing is you have this little thin piece of metal here. Don't catch that on your brake shoe, or this is not going to fit right. So I found that this little loop that we have here on the front is also on the back and was catching it. So after wiggling it around a little bit, figured it out. So now all we have left is our spring and our star wheel adjuster. Now I have a feeling that the easiest way to go about this is going to be to push these together as much as we can. That'll give us room to get our spring in, and then we're going to pry it outwards again to slip in our star wheel adjuster. Or should I say new star wheel adjuster. Now you're going to want to make sure you grease that adjuster as well. So that's where we're at. Hopefully this goes easy. And then it's just a matter of putting this guy back on here. Should be nothing to it. We're looking good. So I got our spring on. Managed to pull this guy forward with a screwdriver against this here. Gave us just enough room to slide this baby back in. Now that we're there, I put our hold down at the bottom back on. I reattached our parking brake cable that came loose from the lever. Now, if it doesn't come loose for you, you might want to just take it off. It makes it a lot easier to line up this parking brake equalizer bar. So now that we're here, I'm going to put the rotor back on after spinning this a couple times. Now, we're going to want to move this out until there's just enough room to slide the rotor on. This is going to make our parking brake nice and tight. At that point, we're going to put our rotor back on, throw our 2 caliper mounting bolts back on, and we should be good to go. Like I said, nothing to it. It could be a little bit of a headache. Long needle nose pliers definitely make it easy. I came in from the inside on this spring versus the outside, because if you go from the outside, you get caught on this. So by going from the inside and shoving it forward here, or shoving it back, managed to get that in a little bit easier. Other than that, just a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.